This story in Isna, Upper Egypt started as a veiled woman stole a mobile phone from a shop belongs to a Christian. As a result, hundreds of Muslims burnt down 13 Christian shops, as well as destroying the fence of St. Mary's Church and the shrine of the Three Farmers, which is a historic building. Coptic News contacted the Church of Mother Delagi and St. Mary's Church also to report what the whole story is. A priest and a diacon indicate this story. The diacon from St. Mary's Church said, as we were praying, we saw over 500 Muslims throwing stones and fire poles at the door and the fence, targeting the congregation. We decided to stay indoors to avoid any clashes with the attackers and called the police. The attackers left for a little while and come back to resume their attacks as soon the police was not present anymore. The congregation left, but we decided to stay to protect the church premises. The only protection for the church right now is only 2 policemen at the door. The Mother Delagi church priest said that we will continue to pray regardless the attacks. Attackers destroyed several shops belonging to Christians in the area. Luckily, nobody was hurt as most shops were already shot. Conversation had to stop as a result of having a power failure in the whole area. Sometimes later, by talking to the diacon again, he said that the attackers are divided now into several groups, distorting and burning properties belonging to Christians over different areas of Isna. And now the police lost control of the situation. He also confirmed the near destruction of the shrine of the Three Farmers, which was built in the 10th century. It is the Muslim youth in Isna which are gathering in different places, but the elders are completely against the attack, and now the police are arresting Christians and Muslims, although the Christians are the victims. The power is still out in the church's area. And on the other hand, one of the priests was trying to get to the church as some of the Muslims tried to beat him, but the police was able to protect him and they drove him home safely. The burning and destructions continued till early hours of the morning. The police imposed curfew and the Christian man and his father, from whom the mobile phone was stolen, were arrested and charged of impersonating a police officer and beating a child. The woman who stole the mobile phone was not investigated at all. In the late morning hours, Coptic News contacted some of the owners of the destroyed shops. One of them indicated he owned 2 stores which were completely destroyed. It is burned out completely with goods worth over 2 million Egyptian pounds. Mr. Heshmet, the owner of an electronics shop, said they destroyed everything in the shop and then set it on fire. The goods in the shop were stolen or damaged before the fire. There is nothing to rescue, value 300,000 Egyptian pounds. At the police station, they asked me if I know the attackers, but I didn't see anyone, as we were told by police detectives to go home early and shut our shops. So the police knew that something is arranged, but they didn't work early enough to stop it. The police even knew that they were gathered at the court building and that they marched to the city calling Allahu Akbar. And all the way long no one stopped them. The police came after the shops and the goods were destroyed. And now at least the police presence is higher in the city, but there is no insurance or compensation for the losses, and we're scared that they might attack the rest that's not attacked yet. And now members of the parliament are trying to make a reconciliation between us and the Muslims. But that also means there is no cases against the attackers, and there is no compensation to our losses or that of the church. But we said we don't want any reconciliation before we get our rights and compensation. One of the parliament members talked to me in front of the police stations and tried to convince me that the fire was caused by a problem in electricity and not on purpose. But I refused that because there is some eyewitnesses who saw the attackers and gave the police the names. Many people gathered in the church for several hours, and there is still some people there by means of protection. Members of the parliament tried to visit the church after what happened yesterday, but the church refused to receive them. Some names and estimations of the losers. Samir Ayub Girgis, clothing shop. Rimon Saad Ishaq, Il Manahri supermarket. Nabil Rai, initial loses 1 million Egyptian pound. Abdul Shakir, motorcycles. Malcolm Munir, Supermarket with initial loses 165,000 Egyptian pound. Sidki Farag, Abu Hani Supermarket. Total initial losses are over 5 million Egyptian pound. On the second day after attacks on Christians, the tension on the streets is very high and more attacks are expected as Muslims are provoking the situation and are willing to attack the church again. The church presented in Bob's commission and people refused the reconciliation until losses are compensated. And now the question is, who's going to compensate all this damage and losses? Not only materialistic, but also the loss of security and safety between Christians and Muslims in Isna. The oppression of Christians in Egypt recorded one more page in the relationship between Muslims and Christians.